This may not be the story you want.
How long have you worked here? I've worked here for over 20 years.
50 Berkeley Square, typically Georgian, another building in the heart of London. You wouldn't think much of this house to look at it. However, like most things, there is a story behind a seemingly plain exterior. 50 Berkeley Square has been known for its eerie haunting since the 19th century, nearly 200 years ago.
The problem I have is I'm not sceptical by nature, but I do tend to believe in things that I've seen. And with any sort of manifestation, one always has the problem that you can't prove a negative.
I have no personal experience of any sort of unpleasant manifestations or any manifestations whatsoever. But of course I was aware, shortly after I came here, that this house had a reputation. The story I heard, I don't know if Ed Madge is aware of this, that the house had actually been exorcised by the Bishop of London before the First World War. He wouldn't have been asked to do this if the house hadn't had a reputation. But of course, Mags had no connection with the house until 1938 or 1939.
I had always wanted to know when the stories began, because the story about the two sailors, dead sailors, is not every morning you find a sailor impaled on the railings, is it? You know, and this would have made the papers. There would have been if that was a real event. And in the history of the haunting of 50 there is not one single actual documented event. I mean, absolutely none. The stories that one read, they all hinge around actual events. Yeah. And so there was no jilted bride who lived in this house. I mean, that just did not happen. There were no sailors dying of fright or impaled on the railings. I mean, this is, I'm not being didactic about the arguing it for the sake of it, but it just doesn't appear to be so.
A credible version of how some of this might have arisen is that a rich young man from a commercial background took the house to live in with his fiancée, who came from a more aristocratic family, and she jilted him shortly before the planned wedding. And he became so depressed that he lived here alone and virtually never went out. He lived here with a sort of housekeeper. And the house appeared to be dark and untenanted and nobody around. But occasionally sort of lights and voices were heard, which was really him. But it appeared to be sort of dark and empty, but at times there were sounds. So this might have given it some sort of reputation. Also, after he left, a gang of coiners, money counterfeiters, are supposed to have taken up residence in the basement. Okay. Well, they're cashing in, with horrible plan, on the house's already sort of slightly dubious reputation, feeling that they wouldn't be disturbed.
In the shop there, we have a little notice which was issued by the air raid wardens in 1942 because there was bomb damage next door and our staircase was damaged. And this is a routine piece of paper issued by the air raid wardens saying the building is dangerous, please don't use it. And that's the piece of paper. About 4 years ago, two nice young American women were here, and I saw them look at that notice, and they went, and they nudged each other and they looked at it. And that, I was very pleased to see, is now evidence that the building is so dangerous that even today staff aren't allowed to use that. And I thought that was great because it was an example of myth in the making. I saw the very second that that happened.
Everything that's appeared to have happened appears to have been pushed back to an earlier period than anybody can talk definitely about.
Okay. Yeah.
Because nobody has actually come forward to say, ever, in all the accounts, this has happened to me. I've heard a story that this happened in the house. And this is what people have said. And another story is that somebody was staying overnight in what is my little office on the second floor, and he'd heard the gibbering white shapes tended to come up the stairs towards you. And it's an old superstition that silver has certain magical qualities. So he had a blunderbuss, a gun, but instead of firing bullets, he was going to fire sort of silver sixpences, pure silver sixpences. So when this gibbering shape came up the stairs towards him, he fired his blunderbuss with these silver sort of bullets, sixpences, and the gibbering shape fled. But again, I think that's a later addition to all this. If the house gets a strange reputation that people talk about, I think things are just added.
Yeah.
But as I say, neither Ed, Max nor myself have any personal experience of anything that hasn't been pleasant here.
I'm not saying that it's a bit foolish for anyone to say that hauntings don't happen. I mean, it seems extremely unlikely. But the world is a strange place. It can be strange.
This house may have been haunted once, it may still be haunted, or it could be that no such ghostly presence ever existed. Whatever the case may be, one thing is certain, number 50 Berkeley Square will forever remain an unsolved mystery.